Martin, and this is a short reflection on the Gospel story for this coming Sunday, the 5th of September. And I'm speaking to you from Abridge Village Church. There are two stories in today's reading about just how amazing God's love is. You can find it in Mark chapter 7. Have you ever wondered if Jesus ever got tired? Or whether sometimes he felt low maybe and just wanted to get away and find some space? Christians believe that Jesus wasn't immune to such feelings. He was fully human. And just as we get tired and feel low and want some space sometimes, so did Jesus. Mark records just such an occasion for us in this reading. Ever since that miracle with the loaves and the fishes, it's been non-stop for Jesus. He was followed by crowds everywhere, wanting more and more of his time and attention. Oh, and last week, you may remember, the Jewish leaders had come all the way from Jerusalem to put him on the spot, to object to the sort of lives his disciples were leading, and even to question Jesus' own devotion to God. No wonder he was tired, a bit fed up maybe, needed a break. So Mark tells us he went to the far north outside Galilee, to the region along the coast near the cities of Tyre and Sidon. Both of these ancient seaports are still there today. And he took refuge in a house, hoping that no one would find him, that no one would bother him with more questions, or at least for a while. Maybe you know how that feels. And it's good, actually, that God in Christ has felt like that, so that God can help us when we do feel just those things. But someone did find him, an unexpected outsider. Not one of the Jews from Jerusalem or one of his fellow Galileans, but a foreigner, someone from another country, another ethnic group. It was a woman who wanted help for her son, who was very ill. And maybe Jesus was still feeling low and even felt rather irritated that his peace and quiet had been disturbed. I think we might understand that. So basically, Jesus told her it wasn't her turn yet. God had sent him to the Jews first, that the Gentiles would get to hear the message later, along with the blessings that go with it. But the woman wasn't put off. Non-Jews or Gentiles were known as dogs by the Jewish people. It was a very unkind and racist term. But this lady turned the abuse into an opportunity. Even the dogs get to eat the crumbs from the table, she said. In other words, surely we can find blessings from God too, even though we may not come first at the moment. Jesus was stunned by her faith. Of course everyone deserves God's love, even when we don't feel very loving. The tired and weary Jesus was startled back to his true self, and he was filled with compassion again for this woman and for her son. And so God's presence in Jesus reached out to someone who others rejected, because that's what God's love is like. God always comes close to those no one else comes close to. Later it happened again in our story. This time it was someone who was deaf and who couldn't speak. Again, here was someone who in those days too often went unloved and uncared for, but to whom Jesus offered healing and hope. Jesus used touch, the only language that this man could understand maybe, as a way to get through to him. And with a sigh, he asked God's power to come and open the man's ears and mouth so he could speak and hear again. Outsiders and people with disabilities have often been pushed aside by others in our unequal and unfair world. And it might even amaze you to know, for example, that such people weren't even allowed access into the temple courts under Jewish law. But once again, Jesus challenges such exclusions. The holiness and the healing of God's presence isn't out of reach to anyone, and Jesus makes that quite clear. Jesus offers to bring anyone who wants to into the reality and experience of God's love. Slowly, we are all, including Christians, waking up to this amazing, inclusive love of God. And recognizing that Jesus broke down all the barriers we put up between people, wherever they come from, however they're made. This was radical, a radical truth back then and today, and one of the reasons, in fact, that people turned against Jesus in the end. But this is what God is like, and Jesus shows us this, even when he's tired and low and wanted some space on his own. God is never too busy, or too tired, or too fed up with us to come close. God is always waiting to show us love and to shower us with peace.
Beauty for brokenness, hope for despair. Lord, in the suffering, this is our prayer. Bread for the children, justice, joy, peace. Sunrise to sunset, your kingdom increase. Shelter for fragile lives, cure for their ills. Work for the craftsman, trade for their skills. Land for the dispossessed, rights for the weak. Voices to plead the cause of those who can't speak. God of the poor, friend of the weak, give us compassion, we pray. Melt our cold hearts, let tears fall like rain. Come change our love from a spark